Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Winnipeg by Night. Session 0. Once a Camarilla stronghold in the Great White North, what we end up having today is a city that, by many kindreds' estimation, has fallen. What we end up having instead is a series of baronies. When Prince Dufresne left, some say due to the beckoning, some say heading to greener pastures, some say fearing a anarch revolt in the city, better to leave and stake claim elsewhere. Whispers say in Detroit. It left a power vacuum. And thus, from Camarilla Stronghold to the anarch-free province of Manitoba. But all is not well within Winnipeg. Some would end up coming to lay their claims. Suddenly new territory opened up, and a city is very difficult to hold. Be it from the international airport that has been a travel site for hunters world around, or the outskirts of the city, hounded by werewolves. Or maybe it's the threats inside that can be so much worse. The truth of the matter is Winnipeg has always been a very unstable city. And with the gangrel Prince Dufresne gone, her reign cut to a swift end at the turn of the millennia, we are now left with a very vicious situation. And thus, we have the setting. In an anarch-free province like Manitoba, its shining jewel, Winnipeg, a complete mess at this given point, we have a chance to follow 4 kindred. In this city, they may have an opportunity to find themselves, a rise to power, or to be crushed under the weight of an unruly mob, or maybe become the very thing that they maybe once fought against. Some perhaps have a live and let live personality, others desire so much more. A new blank canvas to end up painting on, ladies and gentlemen, and each of them a brush of a different sort. So, with that being said, let me introduce you to the players that will be here running this here chronicle. We have Coffee Cat. Of course, everybody knows Coffee Cat Presents, who is running Dead Man's Hand. And if you are familiar with Dead Man's Hand, you might actually know another person from that, new to our series of Chronicles, but a player I've played with on several occasions, and he wanted to take a shot in my world. Why is it that suddenly I'm thinking of poor unfortunate soul? Of course, I'm talking about Fat Guy. Now, with that being said, we also have 2 returning faces, Veteran, and no longer holding the FNG title, Volvo, who has played characters since we started this. Right along with Coffee Cat, he is the Veteran. And Ravenstar, who is now on their 3rd chronicle with us, and who's been a dear friend to the channel. So, With that being said, let's begin. In this particular situation, guys, I'm going to end up asking a simple question. Are we wanting to end up playing newcomers to the city or established characters? Now, with established characters, there's going to be a presumption of knowledge. If it's new players, you guys are going in completely blind, save for the small tidbits of information. I have a Roll20 up, and I am opening up character sheets for some of the major hitters. Some of them are going to be here reputable, some of them not so much. And what you will find in their character sheet, on their bios, is open information. Even if you have politics 0 and an intelligence of 1, you still know this. It gives you a sense of how many of them might be approached. And not all of their bios will end up telling you everything you need to know. And I've purposely slipped in a few bits of misleading information in there. Perhaps showcasing their cultivation of their own reputation, to be perceived as one thing, to hide something else. But I wanted to open the floor and ask you guys what you think. Don't everybody rush in at once.
I personally I was just going to say, personally, I could go either way. I think with the sort of bare bones concept that I have for the character I want to bring, he could easily fit as either someone who has, survived for X number of years, even beyond the point of Prince Dufresne and her court leaving, or he's brand new to Winnipeg, maybe running from somewhere else. I'm partial to established character myself, but I could swing either way.
Anybody else?
Honestly, I'm the same way with coffee. My idea leans a little bit more towards recently coming into the city, but I could swing it that he's been here for a while.
I don't mind a mix, but the big thing I need to know is, for instance, if you're all newcomers to the city, no one has anything established. And to kind of explain a few things, in Winnipeg, right, the domains are not set. It's not like you cross this street and you're in somebody else's domain. There's a lot of no man's land. Territories that are in dispute. They could be claimed by multiple parties. There are 4 major baronies, but that's not to say those are the only factions involved. You are also going to run into unbound, individual kindred. Some of age, some not. You're going to run into small roving coteries, potentially. There's huge swaths that you can stake a claim, if you can hold it. But the question there is where do you go? You have to remember, you're dealing with 4 factions that are constantly trying to subvert one another. Lay claim to not only territory, but power bases, and ultimately realize that you're in a clusterfuck of a city that has teetered on the precipice. Now, in the Anarch's hands, the question is can they do better?
Like Coffee and Volvo, I could swing either way. More leaning to a little bit more established than newcomer, but either way is good.
All right. So how about we start with any particularly probing questions that you may have, or anything you are wanting to end up knowing that might influence your character is, I know we got some that are new, we got some that are characters you kept in the pocket for a while, we got some that are making a new character from scratch, but don't want it to be something completely divorced from Winnipeg coming in. I want to end up seeing if we can end up tying your characters into the city in some way, or if there is something that you particularly find interesting, something that you're trying to explore, or something that you're hoping to gain out of this. Because outside of the setting, it's damn near a blank canvas. So.
Me personally, I have, since there are characters who have influenced other chronicles in the universe, because it is kind of a shared universe, that I would be personally interested in exploring how, like, what has been left behind and how that's affecting the city now, and how my character will adapt to the changes that have been made since it's fairly recent that Prince Dufresne left. So that's why I'm partial to a character who's been in the city for a while, because that means I get to explore that a little bit more, because I have an out of character investment in the city a little bit more maybe than the other players. Maybe Volvo does too, to the same degree. But...
Volvo was there for the original Detroit, so.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I'm interested to see what the hell they left behind.
Okay. What else? What else can we end up doing? Also, because now I can answer the chat. Keys for baronies. Yes, because here's the key difference. You could have a city under a single baron. That is completely plausible. But understand that the anarchs themselves, the only thing they can end up agreeing on is that they have an utter disdain for the Camarilla. That is what makes an anarch. However, what you think should be... how you think Kindred should be organized after you oust the Camarilla, that's a completely different thing. Right? Some will come up with things that only work for vampires. Simple example is delegation of domains. Some people think there should never be a domain. Others very much try and end up conquering their own small bit of territory, because feeding becomes a bit of a cluster after a while. You really don't want 12 vampires consistently feeding in the same place at the same time. It tends to lead to messes. So there is this point where there's kind of a fight on, should there be some kind of hierarchy? Should there be some form of implementation? Some will use a real world method of politics to end up organizing it. You might end up having those who still hold their humanistic beliefs, and others who view humans as nothing more than cattle, and that is how they should be treated. These characters do not ever agree on how a city should function. So now it turns into who's in control, and how do you maintain your own freedom from those who want control, those who may recognize a need for control, those who reject the very concept of it. The true anarchist, right? Remember, they refer, it's, if I recall correctly, it's the Camarilla that dubbed it the Anarchs, because they bucked the system. And that's the only thing that they all have in common. But there's no grand unifying vision of after the fact, save for one potential idea. Carthage. The idea that at some point, vampires and humans managed to end up coexisting. Now, some believe that that meant that the vampires ruled over them and would end up feeding from them. Others end up thinking it was more of a symbiotic relationship. Others end up thinking that it was something that, well, actually, I'm going to pause there because I can end up going on and on about it. But the whole idea is that no one really knows what Carthage was. But everybody takes that idea and twists it to showcase what their vision is, and then references it as a way to end up saying it can't be done. And because of that, you have various different barons. If you think you can become a baron, so long as you have the power and you can take the claim. But ultimately, it comes down to everybody acquiescing to you. The baron's supposed to keep the peace. The baron's not a tyrant. The baron can't play at being a camarilla, a tyrant like a prince. That's a good way to have this mob turn against you. So it's a very delicate balance. But when you have 4 baronies, well, it's either us or them, isn't it? So that's how we got to 4 baronies. Baron Sylvestine, Baron Matthias, Baron Louis, and Baron Styx. Alright. So, anything else I need to end up covering? By all means, guys, it's session 0. If you got questions or you got ideas, now is the time to throw it out there.
I don't know. I don't know much about the original setting for Winnipeg, so I'm probably going to.
That's why you ask.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was thinking I'm either coming in as a new character, or maybe I was brought in by an established character that would be my sire, if that's the way everybody wants to go.
Okay, so just to explain things, sires are fairly rare in Anarchs. After all, most sires are Camarilla. They have some method of power, and they're not willing to end up losing it for anybody. So, if you want to bring your sire in, that's fine. I don't mind the idea of you being a Winnipeg native. But if you're going to end up doing so, and you want to end up bringing in your sire,
No,
then...
I planned on being a transplant from... I actually have an idea for a story that I might be interesting to explore a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine is coming in from out of town, but she could have been there easily for, like, a few years or so to be a little bit more established. But...
Yeah, I don't mind being the new guy. I think the whole story I'm going to try to go for is trying to hammer out my own place in this new area that's...
Well, definitely with the news that Prince Dufresne has left Winnipeg and Winnipeg was left wide open, you certainly have a whole slew of new kindred coming in trying to stake claim, especially when they hear the lack of a Camarilla presence.
Yeah.
So there is that. So, okay, just to be clear, Fat Guy and Raven are imported characters. Anybody else?
I'm thinking my character is Winnipeg native, and we're, survivors of the whole ordeal with Prince Dufresne.
My character wouldn't be native, but he would have moved to Winnipeg within the past several years.
Okay. So you have more of a claim in that regard. Okay. All right. All right. So, here is a question. Are we starting off with a particular with ties to a particular baron, or are you guys wanting to strike it out on your own in no man's land?
I'm down for no man's land.
Of course you would be.
Now, not to say I ain't got leaning Now, I do have a leaning. Baron kind of has caught my eye. Because, honestly, I feel sad for Baron Louis, okay? He has honestly garnered my favor already.
He's garnered your out of character favor.
Yeah. Because, I mean, dude, you work your life up to a certain point. Your damn near life goal after death, okay, then it just gets fucking taken away from you. Then you have other motherfuckers coming in to say they helped build this shit. They helped take down this shit. Fuck them people. So I feel that.
Have you taken into considering that maybe Baron Louis is the bad guy of his own story?
I mean, maybe.
I think that could be said for all the barons.
Yeah, honestly.
I could go for No Man's Land, with slight leanings toward either Baron Louis or Baron, Matthias.
Personally, I was looking over. I don't really resonate with any like of the barons, so but I'm be a true newcomer, so I wouldn't I don't have a stake in either.
Mhm.
It's where I might just hook up with them if they have leanings. It would be by proxy.
Okay, so how about if I give a quick summary of the barons? So let's start with Baron Silverstein. Baron Silverstein is Banu Hakim, member of the Assamites. The idea with Silverstein always is looking at the idea that the Camarilla will come back. The Camarilla doesn't like to take an L, and it certainly would not like to end up losing, well, any form of major transport or a major crossroads in the North America. This is a loss that the Camarilla would try and take back eventually. So with that in mind, Silverstein very much is built around this: we need to be ready. And with all this infighting, that's not going to end up helping. Problem is that Silverstein is very much judge, jury, and executioner, to the point where many, some haven't lived to finish the sentence, end up saying you're no better than the Camarilla, because you end up dictating on how everything goes. But Silverstein's claims to end up having a better vision of the big picture. Matthias is a Toreador. And Matthias has probably one of the oddest pieces. They claim the center of the city, putting them in the crossroads of the other three barons. Their biggest thing is that they've been trying to end up culminating. They end up looking at how they can mold Winnipeg into a new envy of the Anarch movement. A showcase that at any given point, be it its people, its media, its politics, everything can be here brought to heel. A ruler over the mortal society, Matthias's biggest asset is the kind. Every other kindred is more so focused on the involvement of other kindred that it almost left them blind and gave Matthias an easy chance to claim power. So, with that, we have a stark contrast between Silverstein and Matthias. Baron Styx, an Alcavian. She is a creature who oftentimes seems erratic, until you wait a while. Some say that she is a visionary. Some say that she's plagued by nightmares of what is to come, and so moves the pieces in place. But because you don't know what it is her end goal is, because, well, the truth is that many can't, she seems to always end up being ahead of the curve. Now, that's not to say she is a mastermind. It's just she always seems to be on the inside track. And she's willing to promise just about anything to make it happen, whatever it is. Oftentimes, taking in the downtrodden, the rejects, the ones that don't quite fit. She has found herself amassing quite a following very quickly. Her biggest asset, her domain houses the airport in Winnipeg, making her somewhat the gatekeeper as to what is permitted in and what is allowed out. She doesn't have full control, but that key asset has ended up putting her in the crosshairs of several baronies. However, when it comes to knowing what is to happen, she has the strongest track record. And then Baron Louis Real, arguably one of the oldest kindred in the city. Baron Louis has always ended up fighting against the Camarilla. It's in his nature to fight, to struggle against. He did so in life, and he does so now in death. He was probably the closest thing to an organized Camarilla revolt when the Camarilla was in charge. He's been fighting in this city for as long as Dufresne has reigned. And yet, in recent nights, that chance to get that perfect moment to overthrow Dufresne is taken away, with her just up and leaving. A victory by forfeit. And now, he ends up finding himself assuaged with all these would-be barons. These ones that just came in and laid claim on the city he was fighting for. The city that he tried to free. And now, no one even recognizes his efforts. His is often described as a baron who is searching for legitimacy. But Baron Louis has a lot of veterans of that conflict. And he's preparing for another conflict in a four-way free-for-all. But let's not mistake him for a simple brute. He's been at this a long, long time.
I think for Adder, he's going to have connections to each of the four baronies in some respect, because he's meant to be a bit of an info broker. But the strongest ties that he has are probably with Louis and with Styx. He tries to more or less remain neutral as much as possible, sell information to the highest bidder, but he tends to have his favoritism lean in their direction rather than the other two. Probably more with Styx than with Louis.
Why is that, if you don't mind me asking?
Maybe I think he's kind of looking at Louis as someone who has been fighting the fight for so long that maybe they've lost their way a little bit. He's not completely like disregarding Louis, you know, upsetness and not being able to actually take down Dufresne. He's not begrudging him that those kinds of things were taken away and others started swooping in to try and claim power, but he probably sees that more as a more of a stroke of vengeance rather than actual play at something bigger. And maybe with some development of that relationship that maybe Adder will see more of that, but right now he has a very surface level understanding of what Louis is trying to do, and maybe he's seen a little bit of what Styx is trying to do in the city as far as a bigger picture, and that's kind of where he's at.
I think you would find Louis' comment on that, or his general demeanor, would simply be this idea of understand the rest of them are the leaders by opportunity. None of them fought for the city when it mattered. When it was won, everybody wanted the spoils.
And I think Adder kind of comes from that place a little bit too, in that he's, um, like, since the court dissolved, that he feels like he's also fought that fight, fought the fight to survive, and maybe indirectly participated in the actual revolts, maybe more as, like I said, an info broker rather than an actual like fighter of any kind. Not that anyone who does survive in Winnipeg doesn't have some level of competency.
That was definitely true in court.
In Dufresne's court, yeah.
Which,
and I'm thinking he's old enough to have survived that.
Yeah. And this also ends up turning into a case of now what, right?
Yeah. Now that the fight's over, what do we do?
Yeah, well, the fight ain't over.
It's a different kind of fight.
Yeah, just a different target. And with that in mind, is there anything else anybody else wants to bring up?
After hearing about the different barons, if I were to get absorbed by one, it might either be Baron Styx or Baron Louis. Like, I would probably choose just because of my character, who he is. Like, the fighting the good fight kind of like would speak to him. But he wouldn't be opposed to, like, if someone were trying to pick him up. Probably, so
there'll always be the temptation to be picked up.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. So the other part is, now, with that being said, with all these different barons potentially trying to end up with recruiting, because you never stop recruiting, let's be real. So now the question is, what binds you for? That needs to be solid. It's got to be something more than rote survival, because that can be promised by any baron.
Right. And with most of us kind of leaning in the direction of Louis, I think that's a good place for all of us to kind of start, is that we're primarily
there almost feels like an air of legitimacy if you're under him.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And I'm also thinking that since my sire would also be part of the city and a survivor of the city, that would have, sided with Louis as well. So that seems to make sense since everybody's kind of leaning in that direction. And so that seems like a good place for us to, start the Chronicle at least. And with a bunch of kind of transplants from elsewhere coming into the city as of recently, they don't know how the city used to be and might need a helping hand in that regard. Maybe I'm offering.
Well, there are definitely those who end up needing information. There's others who have it. The question then, I guess, is ultimately what drives. So that's where I would end up leaving it to you guys to discuss. What's the aim? What's the goal?
I don't know. You mean personally, or for the coterie, or for
the
the
coterie.
Chronicle?
And I'm saying this because you will be tempted in various different directions. And so this is a chronicle that is going to be... It's very easy for everybody to start splitting off and being recruited by separate baronies. Right? So what is it that holds you four together?
Maybe we were tasked to protect something that's important in the domain.
Problem is whose domain? You have four separate domains and a whole bunch of no man's land. And as you guys earlier said...
Well, I mean, if
you're
we were talking about being for Baron Louis, either like trying to expand on him or protect something of his, if that's where we're leaning. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas.
it's okay.
Seems like that was the Baron that everyone was leaning towards, and so
Yeah, and that could be the one you're sympathetic to, you know. But there's a distinct difference between having leanings and having allegiance, right? Because those in his domain, they're soldiers. Pardon the description. So if you're in his domain, you are ride or die. That is not negotiable, because Louis has, as you can probably guess, he has a particular disdain for opportunists. Yes, so
Adder is an opportunist.
yeah. So, like with Adder, it might be a case of you are a necessary evil, but you've never been accepted on that regard. He's always kept you at arm's length, right? At best, you're useful, but he knows that you're also dealing with the other barons, and he also is probably aware that you are dealing with sticks, so, and have some leanings that way, and so he can't trust your loyalty, and I think that's completely justified in that regard. So let's be real here, right? Loyalty is a currency often lacking, so when it's found, it means something, and Louis very least has that. I would also argue that Silverstein has that in spades. Like, if there's ever two that are very much looking at loyalty, those two would be it. Matthias at least understands the opportunist, and Styx is a opportunist like nobody else. So there's always going to be that little bit of a mix.
Yeah. So I think it's for the purposes of this chronicle, it might be a gathering of convenience more than of necessity. Where it's convenient for us to be together because it makes for more opportunities to hunt, more opportunities to pursue our personal projects.
There is strength in numbers.
Yeah.
But there's also, again, and this is my biggest concern, is because of the nature of this chronicle, it also means that this coterie is particularly easy to shatter.
Well, that's not I may be ministry, but I'm not looking to shatter the coterie.
What is our throughput then?
That's kind of what I'm looking at. Like, what is that one thing that it's like, this part is non-negotiable, right? What do we want to uphold, protect, expand? Yeah, right. Like, are you trying to end up becoming a group that ends up holding a barony of your own, and just like, no, we're gonna bully out this barony, or we're going to expand here. We're going to be the dividing line that holds these two barons from going after each other. Are we, like, you got to end up finding that thing. And even if that thing is just keep me the fuck out of it, right?
Mhm.
And how do you enforce that? That's a big deal.
Right.
But my biggest concern, as I said, and it's because I've run this kind of chronicle before, where you have multiple powers all potentially vying for and trying to tempt the coterie. The coterie has split, and it becomes incredibly hard to stitch them back together. Because otherwise I'm basically running four separate chronicles at the same time, right?
Right. Yeah.
Do we want to try to carve out our own area in Winnipeg? Is that
I don't know that Adder is wanting to rule a domain per se. He more likes what he does as far as being a go-between as far as information. He likes to know things. He doesn't want to necessarily wield the power to rule over a domain. He wants dirt on everyone. He's more in it for leverage. He's more in it to keep himself safe, because if he can keep himself safe, then people will leave him alone. If he knows something that they don't want him to know, they'll keep their mouth about something, spread about something that he doesn't want them to know.
Of course, there's always the backfire of the potential of, because you know so much, anybody who can grab you and get you to talk. Well,
Oh yeah, this is why he's a little bit of a slinky, little slithery, little menace, in that he is easy. He is developed not necessarily physical strength, but the ability to slink away in a moment's notice. His obfuscate is actually high because of that. He can slither away if he needs to.
that could be our through line of protecting each other. We all need, we all need our room to work. That's the one thing we won't compromise is our safety.
I kind of like the idea of we eventually just kind of kept bumping into each other so fucking often that we just kind of not necessarily like friends, but like, hey, we in the same area, let's work the fuck together, and just kind of like built a relationship
Like
around each other.
A working relationship kind of a deal.
Yeah, kind of like a working relationship. Like you got the homie down the street that you've been knowing for like 4 or 5 years. Hey, bruh, we in the same area. Might as well kick it together. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm that buddy you've known for 5 years.
Yeah.
The one that seems to know everything that you need to know.
You just be in people's windows at night. You freaky little man.
I kind of like that idea too.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that because everybody else was talking. What were you going on, Raven?
Oh, I said I kind of like that idea too, of where we just kind of kept bumping into each other and just decide.
Again, like that's how you met, but that doesn't give me a core, because that just makes you allies of convenience, and the second something more convenient shows up,
split.
That is the thing, and I feel
I think the thing that we haven't really discussed is who these characters are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've discussed Adder a couple of times on stream, just in passing. I don't know anything about these other characters. Who are they?
And this is, I didn't want to put the cart before the horse, because if we nail down that one thing, you can build your character to that, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, because I have 4 different characters, and because we're trying to find that one thing, oh, well, that doesn't work for this character, or that doesn't. That's one of the reasons why I try to keep it nebulous in that regard.
I think I'm the only one who didn't.
It's okay, because you like I said, your character, for instance, is one of those. It's been in the pocket, right?
No, it's not. He's brand new. He is absolutely a new creation for this story.
Okay.
No, mine's the one that's kind of in the pocket. But she's adaptable, so.
So I've been. I can tell you a little bit about my character to like help tie things in, because so my character, he has a nickname Omen. Sometimes good things come about, sometimes bad shit. Usually when he pops around. But he originally was not from Winnipeg. He ended up coming in because he was traveling abroad at the time. He ended up meeting his sire, which I kind of like the idea that his sire was part of the Camarilla at first, but when the people fucked off, shit kind of hit the fan. My sire's dead, by the way. So he's kind of just been chilling out, trying to figure shit out, and like who the fuck, like off him, because his broodmate has gone fucking missing. So he's kind of suspecting, like, did they fucking murk him? Because they're nowhere to be seen. So that's why his reason is, okay, I was cool with my fucking sire. The broodmate's fucking gone. I want to figure out what the fuck happened. And that's why he's kind of just been chilling in Winnipeg trying to figure all this shit out. Plus, a thing that I do like, I kind of wrote down is Omen isn't the typical Bruja. He neither was his sire, actually. So kind of think back to like Manel, the Bruja that was around Carthage and shit. He was more so studious. He was more of a philosopher. Fighter second hand, but obviously being in fucking Winnipeg, you gotta know how to fight your shit. So Omen's been kind of trending under this, and all he has left is his books from his mentor to study. So he's kind of just been combing through what his sire's left behind.
Okay.
Okay.
So
You know,
wherever the fuck he did leave behind, Adder, I need your help trying to find some shit. I can't
Okay.
always tell you the full fucking story, but hey, bro, I need your help with this.
that could be our through line. Everybody's trying to find out or build up something. We got to build up an information network. We got someone that needs to use that information network. My character is trying to build a place to live. Depending on what Raven's character is trying to do, that could be our through line of we're trying to establish systems.
Okay.
Yeah, she is trying to establish herself more in the city.
Trying to
she's
establish
a-
what?
Trying to establish herself more into the city.
She wants to be invested here. She wants to stay here.
Yeah, she wants to
Okay.
stay here. She's coming in from out of town. Like I said, been here probably a few years at this point. Her sire is back in her original city, and she doesn't talk to anyone from back home anymore.
What was your original city?
Denver, Colorado.
Is she running away from Denver?
Not necessarily from the city, just major disagreement with her sire, and she decided she had enough with them trying to control her. And so she
Okay.
said fuck off and followed her living family up to Winnipeg.
Okay.
So,
Kinda is, kinda isn't running away from Denver.
yeah.
Okay.
Emotionally running away from Denver. She's
Emotionally
not being
running away.
hunted per se.
All
Yeah,
right.
but
but
she's-
not being hunted.
She left for her own reasons.
Yeah.
Interesting.
CJ, can you tell me a little bit more about your character?
My character, at least the rough idea that I had, was he was a guide and, lack of a better word, exterminator in the South, dealing with the hog population, and ended up being hired by someone to go to Canada, and that was when he was found by someone and embraced. And he's been finding his way through Canada, heard about this new, like, the Camarilla going out, him not really, like, liking being told what to do, hated the idea of the Camarilla and is looking to establish himself in Winnipeg.
Always
He's,
been an arc sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, any questions you guys have for me at this exact time?
Can't say that I have any questions. Just
Mm-mm.
maybe more of a comment
By all means.
on Adder. That regardless of how the Camarilla may have thought about the ministry, whether they were considered, just an outsider class, never got part of the Camarilla in Winnipeg, because given the city's history, only the strongest survive, and maybe that was something that Adder was striving for while the Camarilla was here, but now that they're out, probably sees more of an opportunity to use those skills for his own reasons rather than the Camarilla's. And so, I don't know. Maybe it's an adjustment period for him. Maybe that's his story. Is that it's just an adjustment going from having been under this very like kill or be killed Camarilla to this kill or be killed Anarchs. Maybe it's the same but different, sort of a deal. And just adjusting to that.
Yeah, and that would be like a simple example, right? Like that. Those two could easily be found in Louis and Ms. Silverstein. But Matthias, on the other hand, kind of is trying to end up building up beyond that, right? Trying to end up shrugging that off. Bringing Binta Gentile back to Winnipeg. But
I think it's one of the reasons
issue,
he
right?
doesn't have a real loyalty per se. He'll work with each of them to the degree that they're willing to work with him, but he hasn't really signed on with anyone just yet. And I think that's kind of the story that I want to tell, is that he's eventually going to find someone he's loyal to and kind of go in hard on that. And then, whether that's Louis or whether that's somebody else, down the line, that remains to be seen. But that's kind of what he wants, is ultimately to find someone who will have his back just as much as he would have theirs. And maybe that's the coterie even. That's kind of his aim, I think. He just wants to thrive.
He feels like the world's uncertain. He doesn't feel like there's a bedrock that he can actually build on.
There's no bedrock there. He's trying to establish that, and he wants to make sure that he is on solid ground, really, before making a decision one way or the other. And if that turns out to be the coterie or a specific baron, or that he remains independent of all of them, that remains to be the question to answer. But I think that's ultimately what he wants, is he doesn't want to just survive. He wants to thrive now. Not necessarily rule the domain, per se, but he wants to be in a good position where he's untouchable.
Okay. Let me load this up for a second.
To become untouchable is basically his ambition.
Oh, no. Okay. Okay, I think yeah, alright, I saved my notes. I was worried there for a second there. I thought I closed it out without saving, like, no!
No!
So let's work on the coterie here for a second. So. Okay, so let's start off with basic relationship map. So we have Adder, we have Ruby. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Omen?
Yep.
Okay.
That isn't ominous at all.
Yeah. And well, CJ, or the fat guy, what's your character's name? Or have you come up with one?
Um. Hmm.
Okay, if you haven't, then
You know what?
I'll just
We'll go
do
with Colton Brooks. I'm gonna
Bolton
decide on
Brooks.
Colton.
Colton. Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna, because this is the most important one, I'm gonna give this the most space. All right. So it sounds like you guys were already hinting at, kind of understanding a few others. So let's start off with, because I think Adder's probably the most established. Like, I know Coffee's been brewing on this for a bit here, so we're gonna start down that
Yeah.
list. So what? Let's start off with Adder. Who are you probably like the most at ease with, or who do you think you're cool with?
Out of the player characters?
Yeah, out of the player characters. We're just focusing on that for now.
The fact that Omen calls itself Omen kind of fascinates me as to why. But Ruby coming in from another city also fascinates me, and I think the person I'm trying to get in with in their good graces more leaning in this direction, at least for the time being, would be Ruby.
Okay.
Because I'm wanting to know more about her. Like, what is her deal? Why is she running from Denver the way that she is?
Okay.
Whether I know that out of character or in character, I'm not sure. How much of that I know about her, I don't know. But the fact that she came from somewhere else and doesn't want anything to do with them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting question.
Okay. So Ruby is who you're primarily cool with. Is everybody else neutral, or is there somebody you're like, okay, I'm not sure about?
There's a reason that Omen is called Omen. And as curious as I am, that might speak a little bit to the fact that he might bring bad luck with him too. So that's more of a neutral. Colton, given that he's kind of a baby in this regard, I don't necessarily feel threatened by him at the moment. So maybe I look at him as a little pet.
All right. Not really a positive, not really a negative, just kind of there.
And it's not like I keep it at my arm's length or anything, but I don't tell him anything too terribly important about me yet.
Fair enough. Okay, let's
Probably keep me around for my skill set.
Working relationships is what I would describe those two as.
All right, let's go to Ruby then. Because I know Ruby is a character who is, it's not new, so I think you have a better understanding of Ruby's general demeanor. So let's see what you're doing.
Ruby would probably be very positive toward Adder, especially when she finds out that he's in the information. She'd definitely be down for getting information from him, even if it's just like small tidbits about the city, just so she can better establish herself. Omen, pretty neutral. Good luck, bad luck. Whichever way that's going to swing is gonna depend on the moment. Colton probably again neutral.
Hmm.
Respects his skill set, but maybe a little shifty around him.
Fair. So what about Colton?
Colton would be curious about Adder, especially hearing about the information. Knows that's a relationship he'd like to develop.
So you view that as a positive one? Like that's one that you want to end up cultivating?
Yeah.
Okay.
Being another person from the States, he probably automatically just kind of sees Ruby in a positive light.
Okay.
Omen he's a little unsure of because he doesn't really know much about him. So that's not at an arm's length. It's not negative, but more of we're just going to have to see how this pans out.
All right. So positive with Ruby and Adder, neutral with Omen. So that leaves us with Omen. What is Omen's general demeanor? Give us a bit of insight as the least trusted amongst the entire coterie.
So, overall, Omen is a decently quiet person. But when you kind of get to know him, he's very energetic, actually. Very studious. Kind of a mixture of a bit of a book nerd, but also a kind of athletic type
Okay.
guy. Honestly, he's just a cool person. He doesn't really like conflict,
All
but
right.
if he gets into it, then he has to do what he has to do. Um, there's a reason why his sire gave him the nickname Omen, though, but most people don't know why.
I have a feeling that that'll become a plot point unto itself, depending on how we play this out. But how do you feel about the other characters? That's the big one.
Omen's heard of Adder quite a few times, just kind of being in Winnipeg for several years. Overall, pretty good disposition for them. He knows that he shouldn't tell him too much because obviously he's an information broker. But honestly, he's still cool to probably kick it with.
Yeah. Okay.
I imagine they have several hobbies that overlap.
Oh yeah. Colton, he likes a person that can get work done. Colton seems like a person that, hey, you need me to do something, I'll do it.
Okay.
And it's kind of like straightforward to it. So I can respect that. So pretty good disposition, Colton.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby, overall she seemed like an interesting person. She's out of town, so he kind of can vibe with that because he remembers what it felt like being out of town for a bit.
So Ruby's kind of
Especially
earned your
since
sympathies in that regard.
Yeah, like Omen was not originally from Winnipeg. He's lived here for several years now, but he wasn't originally from here as well. So he was from the States though. So
All right.
he's
What about
pretty much
Colton?
Colton. I like the business mentality of him. Like,
Nobody trusts Omen. Omen's like, everybody's cool.
You just immediately hear his name and just go, I'm not sure about you.
Okay.
Question marks. Question marks I want to poke, but not too much.
Okay.
I don't know what I'd be sticking my finger into. It'd be a wood chipper for all I know.
Okay. So with that in mind, all right. Here is what I'm going to do. Yeah. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to block this as... So this is the core coterie. So what do you guys think the name of this coterie is going to be? That's always the hardest part, so we're going to end up getting that over. We're going to end up getting that done early.
So what do we know about each other's clans? Because Volvo said that Omen's Brewha. I've mentioned the Adder's Ministry.
Ruby is Malkavian. Can sometimes easily be mistaken Toreador, considering how she looks. But she is Malkavian.
Okay.
And I think I'm a gangrel, so at least that's what I was planning.
A lot of
And
animals
not a
going
typical.
on here.
Yeah, not
almost
a lot.
like a rabbit animal theme.
A little bit.
So, that in mind. Okay, so we have an Omen who is Ruha, a figure who is kind of built on this whole things shift, troubles coming our way, but we're going to deal with it. We have Adder who's constantly poking his head in where it don't belong. We end up having Ruby, who is a mixed bag at the best of times, and we have Colton, who is the newcomer to Gangrel. So let's think on this. Actually, no.
What about something like the pack, or something like along the lines of like, I was trying to look up to be a little tongue-in-cheek, since we're all kind of animalistic, some kind of like wildlife organization, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's your name. It's what you guys are associated as.
Right.
It's always that. It's always the tough part.
That is the tough part.
Yeah.
So, would we know anything about the animal affinity that Colton tends to have? I mean, Ministry is obviously associated with snakes a lot. I mean, he even plays into the snake motif a little bit.
Why do I have the feeling like Adder's the type who ends up wearing rattlesnake cowboy boots? Just
not cowboy boots, but maybe rattlesnake leather wristbands. I mean, he calls himself Adder because he's maybe poison, venomous. Maybe plays into that a little bit.
I do love that name.
I do love it too. He wears a lot of black, a lot of black to kind of go with the.
He's a Hot Topic kid.
He is.
Yep.
Like he's basically looks like '90s Hot Topic. You know, walked out of there with a Nirvana shirt and a Metallica hoodie.
No wonder he and Ruby get along, because Ruby's goth. Oh god.
Yes, he's got long black hair, so he definitely is a metalhead.
I am trying so hard not to end up suggesting, because fun fact for everybody involved, I think I'm responsible for like 90% of the coterie names.
I'm not clever, so I'm open to
I'm
suggestions.
not
I need-
clever
I need
at dropping
stuff
the
to-
hat. I'm really not.
Yeah.
Like the best thing I ever came up with was for the game that guy and I are in our early Saturday mornings, and that was just something we're just like, yeah, this group is just going this way.
What are you thinking, Derek?
I'm not saying.
Hell in a handbasket.
That would be fitting.
I'd rather not be here guiding towards tanking the entire place at the very start, but sure.
Hey, I'm throwing.
You're
things at the wall, see
throwing
if it
stuff at the wall,
sticks.
see if it sticks. Oh, I get it. Trust me, it's not the first time. That's sometimes what you need to end up doing. It's like, man,
Yeah.
it's just the best we
It
can
helps-
come up with the
It
time.
helps stir the brain. That's the best I'm doing right now.
Oh god. I just had one and I lost it.
Oh,
What does Omen look like?
Hmm, probably a t-shirt of some sort of band, honestly. Windbreaker, mostly all black. Kind of a little rockish, I guess. But kind of has a little bit of military style.
Three
to
goths
it as
and a
well.
gangrel. What can we?
Let's see here. We've got a couple goth
Usually,
kids.
when
Go ahead.
you name a coterie, it oftentimes ends up trying to state as a presence. This is what we're known for. This is what we're doing. Simple
Right.
example: the coteries for the baronies are as follows. With Silverstein, we end up having the scales. We have Revolver, we have the Wretched, and we have the Velvet Gloves. Right, so it tells you something about them just by the title.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm looking up goth club names for inspiration.
I mean, if we want to go based specifically off aesthetics, but what we would be known for, particularly, I mean, if we want to talk about like, because another thing that kind of popped into my head because I'm kind of working off of a sort of poker theme in Dead Man's Hand is something similar to that here, where it's maybe Poker Face.
Poker face would be it. I like it.
Or
Yeah, that's a good start, at least.
yeah, something.
That six better than anything else we've come up with so far.
One thing that I was looking at, that was a club name. A lot of us are also or would we say that we are an attractive coterie?
I haven't really determined how. I mean, Adder could
guess.
be average looking, but he could. I haven't really decided on his backgrounds or flaws either, so he could very well be ugly.
Okay.
I don't know yet.
Well, because the one that I was looking at was Nightshade. It's actually a pretty plant, but it's poisonous. So it has an edge to it.
A deceptive and kind of a deceptive quality.
Yeah.
If that's something we want to be known for, is being, a little bit deceptive to that degree. Is that what we want to be known for? Because that's kind of what Adder's known for a little bit already.
Well, that was like, so it was kind of the mashup in my head. You have the deceptive quality. We have the pretty quality with the passing
What did you
Toreador.
say it? What did you say? It was
Nightshade.
Nightshade.
We have the pretty passing Toreador. Then we have two people that could be kind of pretty, could be kind of goth, could be kind of dangerous. Well, I'm not as goth, but I don't know. It was just an idea. I'm gonna keep looking.
I do kind of like that.
Yeah, I do
for
too.
for maybe if it's not what we call ourselves, it's maybe what other people call us.
Yeah.
The Bad Batch.
A bad batch. God,
Suicide Squad.
why would I be associated with a bad batch?
Hmm.
You're all children. Heathens. Hmm.
I'm just
Yeah,
I'm noodling. I'm trying.
you're noodling.
Yeah.
You're noodling. That's always the tough part, right? And like, why you make me
Mhm.
think?
Are all of us are we kind of stock standard of like our clans, or are we all kind of like have our own little spin on them and like
Well, Volvo's already described that Omen's a bit of the unusual spin on a Bruja, where taking
yeah.
more of the philosopher route than the brute route.
Yeah, so that another we're deviation, so maybe the deviate or deviation or something like that.
Deviants.
Deviants.
Or just the reason that I came up is there's a club called DV8, like the number 8. So like if we deviate from what people perceive us, you know, they hear a gangrel and a Bruja and they're expecting two things, and then we show up and they're like, the fuck?
Would be the funny fact that the ministry turns out to be the heavy.
that could also feed back into Nightshade too.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing shit at the wall. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing nobody noticed.
No.
Oh no, I noticed. I'm just sitting here watching you do it.
Oh, let me pull up.
Oh, I wasn't even watching the Roll20. Neo Noir. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Back Alley Butchers. It sounds like a band name.
We love
Right,
you, Winnipeg. Good
funny.
night.
Ooh, but I do like Red Light though, because that could mean a lot of different things depending on what where your head's at. And so, if you're like super like not in the know, you might even think of just like a red light on a lamppost. You might think
we
red light
stop.
district. You might think stop signs. You might think something totally different depending on who you are. And maybe that's the point.
Red light might work.
Raven
I take
pointed
it you
out.
saw my note, Coffee.
Yes, I did. I saw the Discord.
I may or may not be along the same persuasion, so that might actually be work. If
Red light.
I kind of like Red Light and I kind of like Nightshade, so I'm torn between the two of those.
Yeah, those two are like I think I like.
Yeah,
Red Noir would be an interesting name too.
I'm kind
Yeah.
of torn between Red Light and Nightshade. I think those are the two that I'm pretty sold on myself.
Yeah.
Eyeing
down
the
for
two
Nightshade.
together, Crimson Nightshade.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Mm. This is what Nightshade actually looks like. If anybody is
Yeah.
curious.
Yep. Very lavender purple.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Where if we go with Crimson Nightshade, it leads into even going back into the deviant conversation.
It's a spin on something different.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what to expect.
All right. So, with that being said, are we all settled on that then?
I'm settled on
Yeah.
it.
I'm settled on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it.
Crimson Nightshade.
All right. So let's take that, move it a little bit down here. So let's start off with who. So let's start off with a single point. All right. So who still has their sire around? And okay, so Adder still has sire around. What? No. Did you come up with a name for the sire as of yet, or
No, I
leaving
don't
that
have a
for
name
me?
for them. I don't have a name for them. I know that we were kind of wanting to talk about the concept behind them, but we never did. So I'm open to suggestions about that. But
I got a character in mind. So
I do, I do
haven't
think that
named
they
them.
are still present, and that they are probably one of uh one of those who's kind of a ride or die with Baron Louis, and that's why Adder is both conflicted about whether to side with Louis or not, is because he does want to make his own decisions. He wants to look at, as the ministry does, kind of look at all sides of things and kind of determine his own path. And but because his sire is very much on Louis' side, that's kind of making it difficult for him to stay as neutral as he wants to be, because he does have a very strong connection with his sire. Like that is a person who taught him the ways of being ministry. And so there's a lot of personal connection there and a lot of importance to that relationship. But also he wants to be his own kindred as well. So there's a lot of, inner conflict in Adder about all of it.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I would say it'd probably be more neutral more than anything.
He has a strong admiration for his sire.
Okay.
They are on good terms, but he's having a lot of personal conflict, and it's all personal. He has no beef with his sire. There's nothing that his sire did to really kind of push him one way or the other.
Mhm.
His sire only brought up the question, and he's been dealing with that question for a few years now.
And I think because Adder uses a single, not even a name, just a descriptor, right? I think that might be an aspect of his sire. So I'm going to go with Preacher. Because that's because he kind of took a look at like the art that I was initially looking at. I'm gonna redo that piece, but it's like just that older man, you know, like I don't know if anybody else I kind of looked at it, and it's like
Good
as
old
I was
preacher
drawing it,
man.
I was like, I just love the look of him, and he's kind of reminding me if you ever played Twisted Metal Black. You know, like I'm like, okay, this is too perfect.
He's just an old preacher man.
You're the best son of a preacher man on the county lift stain. They made him live in a chicken ass to try and hide the shame. Okay.
I dig it. I dig it.
All right. So that's going to be a positive relation.
Yeah.
Sorry, Childer.
Yeah, he enjoys spending time with his sire when they do spend time together. He does take a lot of his advice to heart. Probably the biggest thing that his sire does for him is help him gain perspective on issues he might be coming at that he needs an outside perspective on.
So still more of a mentorship in that regard.
Yeah, if I have the dots for it, I am going to take him as a mola. I haven't decided on my backgrounds yet, but yeah, it's definitely that sort of a relationship. Does seek out from advice from time to time, but is also old enough to be his own kindred now.
Yeah, certainly. Let's drop this down to... Okay, so I'm gonna just move this because your relationships will be building up for a bit, but
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the most important one there. Anybody else, or is everybody else without their sire's not involved in this chronicle or in this city?
That is something I was going to wait and leave up to you. Because being a gangrel, I could have just been like, you know, how they like to abandon and let you see how you stand on your own 2 feet. It could be someone established if you have an idea for the story and they come back. I'm not tied.
I'm just right now seeing what bricks we have to build a house with. That's kind of where I'm at right now. So I know Preacher's going to be important to Adder, and so like if I absolutely want to end up going, okay, well I think I got a really Adder-centric piece. You know, I can involve Preacher, and Preacher's the one who ends up getting Adder going. Which, you know, works. Like that's what we're looking for, is those little ties to be able to end up saying, okay, here's a plot thread that can be relevant, right?
Mm-hmm. And if it's not a sire that
it would be a touchstone, or maybe you have a mala yourself, or there's a particular ally that you're very close to. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for, is just pieces like that. Or if you have a ghoul, for instance. Though I think Ruby's the only one I would think would probably have a ghoul out of all this.
Yeah, Adder doesn't really have a ghoul. He's more of a hands-on kind of person. Mm-hmm. He's not going out of his way to really enslave a human to his desires.
Don't knock it till you try it.
I sent you a question, Derek.
Not sure. Okay.
Or at least an idea.
It's your story. I just gave you I just kind of gave you the context of the sandbox, right? Now it's your guys' turn to end up adding to that sandbox, and then I gotta figure out how to weave as much of this as I can. And I don't always weave everything, but I'd like to be able to end up having a few things to start with.
Well, I was, when we started, you told me not to go too hard. So I kind of had to,
because I wanted to give you context, right? Is it would be like, I'm the childer of the previous prince hiding out in the fallen domain. Well, yeah, except that would end up making you Generation 9, and there'd be certain things where I'd have to check and balance, right? I wanted to give you guys the context of what we are jumping into, in case there's something from that context you might be inspired.
But yeah, it was a thought.
I think even though my sire isn't alive, kind of like since Omen Story is kind of trying to figure out
What happened to
Yes.
them and
Yes.
the broodmate? Yeah, the broodmate is somebody who's gonna potentially be found, dead or alive.
Oh, I can tell you already know they're going to be found because they're my adversary.
Okay. So we got nope. That's good. That's good. We have an adversary to play with. So let me...
They're coming after you for something.
Okay. So let's...
I wonder if they think that you killed your sire.
Let me...
Potentially.
And do you have any ideas about this, or is it just kind of like that's the plot thread, and you're giving me a carte blanche to?
It's a bit of a mutual suspicion.
Okay, yeah, but are you asking me to end up designing it, or do you have a particular adversary in mind?
Nope. They're just a supposed broodmate.
Okay. Let's see here.
I was bringing up some potential ideas where the broodmate thinks that that Volvo's character Omen is the one who killed the sire.
Oh,
Yeah,
Omen
it's
doesn't know.
actually-
There's a whole bunch of ways we can take it because there's unknowns.
That's true.
And
Yeah,
I look forward.
there's a
to
lot of
playing
different
all that.
ways, a lot of different things.
It's kind of a mutual suspicion. Like Omen thinks they might have killed the sire, and
Yeah.
It might be the case.
Yep.
Be the case. Your sire was prone to nicknaming. You said.
very much. The broodmate actually got the nickname Metis.
Say that again.
Metis.
Metis.
You mean Métis?
IS.
I don't think come across that nickname.
Gone.
Usually, the sire had an interesting way of nicknaming people. Usually on their disposition. Sometimes it's something else.
So what was the disposition that ended up giving the name Métis?
Give me just a second, I'll answer that. Because
Yep, I hear it. Okay, so we got.
We have an
that.
important person for Ruby then, while we're
Yep.
waiting on Volvo's answer.
Yep.
We have one of her touchstones
Okay, so we're
is her niece.
okay. And let me just get this set. So what's the niece's name?
Kaylee.
Okay. And do you have a positive relationship with Kaylee and her you?
Yeah, they have a positive relationship. At this point, I don't think Kaylee realizes her aunt had up to Winnipeg, following behind them, but they have a fairly positive relationship. Ruby also does have a enemy.
Oh, we're going a little fast. I'm trying to fill this relationship map in as you're talking. Everybody else gave me a lot of time. Now I'm like, oh god, we're gonna. Okay, so.
Yeah. Brain jumping around because just.
Nope, I have been in that exact situation a lot, so I absolutely get it. You said you have a adversary?
I have an enemy, spurned lover. I don't have him designed just yet.
Okay.
She pissed off a guy.
Yeah.
What else is new? I mean,
It could easily just end up being a jealous lover too.
uh-huh.
Like I said, I haven't designed him just yet. Hi.
Okay. So with that, let's just shrink that down. Okay. And so we got that. Now, is there anything I should think about when it comes to Colton?
One thing that's definite is I do have a ex of sorts as well. I have an idea for who they are.
All right.
Um,
Well, I'm filling it in, so give me something to work with.
I haven't decided on a name or anything yet, but it was a person that maybe was a local activist of like a conservationist,
Okay.
and we got involved, but due to different philosophies, kind of fell apart, and they do not agree with what I do or did.
Okay.
Curious as to what that would have been.
So,
Okay. So we got that. All right. Anything else for Colton?
I wouldn't be opposed to actually like having my sire come back in the picture, even if I don't know them.
Okay. So all right. So you don't know them, so we're gonna keep that as a mystery. Okay.
I'll come up with touchstones and stuff.
Okay. Let me just change this around. Okay. Let me put down a few more notes. And that will put that there. Okay. So we have that. Anything else anybody wants to add?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry.
No worries. No worries.
So it kind of come. So the name Metas kind of come about because my sire kind of liked Greek philosophy and kind of is a philosophy nerd, Greek nerd, history nerd. Um, so Metis in Greek mythology was kind of a Titaness, but also a Greek goddess. She ended up getting that name because she was a very cunning individual and more kind of book smart. Kind of looked at as wise, but she had a very dark natured side to them. So they were very prone to schemes too. And that is kind of how that name came about.
Okay. I think Louis would definitely take exception to that, given that that is what he did in life for the Métis people. But Metis might actually be the pronunciation for the Greek goddess then. Same spelling.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's okay. So with that in mind, anything else anybody wants to add?
I'm thinking.
There we go. Still adjusting cameras and all that, everybody. Yes, this is the time to do it. Session 0.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that'll do it. Okay. So we have... This is a tie. Now, let's talk about... let me add a character sheet here to make sure that I'm able to reference it. We can... It's in all players. Now... I'm going. You end up saying that you guys are starting to put down roots, right? Like that's where this kind of started, and you're starting in no man's land, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So let us go into coterie details. So right. We have the Crimson Nightshade. Okay. So let us start off. I'm gonna do this a little bit different. Usually it's like choose location, then end up fleshing out. I'm gonna, since we are dealing in a fictional world of darkness based in Winnipeg, means that we can end up playing around and altering the city as to our wants and wishes. So instead, what I'm gonna start off with is a few different things. All right, very first thing, because we have newer characters. And this is obviously you guys just starting to settle in as a coterie, right? So I would presume then that any domain claim would still be new-ish, which means if you're going for the path of least resistance, then you're probably not going to have the best feeding spot. So that's going to end up meaning something to you, right? So I'm going to say that no dot can be higher than 2. Now, everybody gets a chance to spend it on something. So, what do we have? What are we going to end up building upon? How are we going to start? Oh.
Mm.
Somebody moved. It was looking into the domain at this point. All right, so we're starting off with 0 dots in everything. We got nothing to work with. Everybody gets 1 dot to start. What is your domain like? What do you think?
I'm throwing mine in the chase.
All right, so right away we got a chase 1. So we need a 6+ for feeding.
I'm throwing mine into the chase.
All right, chase is maxed out, 5+ for feeding.
Probably about what I'm used to.
Um,
Maybe even a little better.
It might be a little bit better. A lot of Winnipeg is chase 6. Like a lot of it.
Like difficulty 6, yeah.
I would probably go for Portalon, since we can increase chase, because that's the defense, right?
Yep. That makes it a little bit more defensible. It's either just the way the roads are here built, or the way the location's built up. But this is your feeding domain. You guys really don't have any place to stay or anything of the such. So, not to say you can't find places to stay. It's just questionable security and what have you. That and your domains, like if you want to end up here moving shop, you're going to be here moving shop within this very, very small niche piece of a domain.
Okay.
So.
What was Lane again?
Lane is your information that you know about the area. So, for instance, you could know who might be here lurking in your domain or who squatted there for a bit. You would end up knowing the convenience store clerk's name. You would end up knowing what kind of resources you might find within it. You also end up having a certain degree of presence in amongst it. It's you being recognized as this is your location. So you might use it, for instance, as a bonus to your dice when first meeting somebody in your domain.
Okay.
Overall, it's your presence within it, how it's felt kind of situation.
I think I'll put a dummy away.
Okay. So that's our default. All right. Now I'm going to give everybody the opportunity, one each. This is still a bare bones domain, but we got 4 players, so this is going to be still stacking up pretty high. You guys can add 1 dot into Lane or Portalon, or background, or an ally, or whatever. But you also have to end up taking a flaw that corresponds. So, if you like it as is, or you want to keep it as clean as possible, you want to avoid complication, keep it as is, everybody gets a say in it. But you're going to get a maximum of 4 additional dots to play with, and a maximum of 4 additional flaws to play with.
I'm kind of wouldn't be opposed to putting 1 more into Portalon, just because if that I want to get everybody else's opinion, but like dealing with people coming in and out of our area, it'd be nice to have it defensible, and
it reduces people coming to you and happening to be squatting in your territory. And given the amount of people just trying to dodge getting drafted into the general demeanor of the four barons, yeah, I can understand that being important. Does also mean that the individuals that do show up, they typically have some degree of prominence.
Yeah.
All right. So that's one dot there. So what is the chink here? What is the little hole in the armor? What did that cost you?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I thought Derek was asking rhetorically. I thought he was going to get the pick card.
No. This is your story, but this is your story as a coterie. So you have better portalin.
What would an example of something that we could take would be a flaw for Portalon?
Well, a simple example of it might end up being a case of you're without haven, a lot of you. You could end up saying that your portalon came in, but there's somebody else. Maybe you have one dot adversary. So this is the person who you're trying to push out of this domain.
I kind of like that. That's
like
an
that
easy
too.
plot point to start off with.
You could end up taking a case of enemy as well, though that those kinds of enemies typically are quickly assuaged. But
I have an idea for an adversary actually for that to fill into that slot.
So you guys are actually going with the adversary law?
I think it's a neonate Nosferatu who has a stick up their butt about about Adder in general.
Okay, so this neonate Nos. I believe one dot in merit immediately makes it an Ancilla.
I think it makes it up to Elder, yeah.
Yeah. Might be just a really well-connected neonate.
But yeah,
but
somebody
you push somebody out and they're not happy about it.
Yeah, it's like I'm thinking some kind of rumor got spread by Adder as the coterie was forming that kind of got this guy to lose ground and lose favor with the information that he spreads, and so Adder's kind of taking his place, and he doesn't like that. Which
Adder fed out false information that spread and damaged his credibility while you show up with the right information, maybe.
Might not even be false.
True.
And now that I have backup, it's harder for him to push back on me. But that also means that you guys are in the crossfire.
I think I got an idea. She upset at you?
Uh-oh.
I don't doubt it.
Let's see here. Just it. This is the time-consuming part, right? The trying to end up coming up with the little notes to make sure everything ends up coming together. So, where are we? 10. So you stole their turf. You bullied them out of it. You did what you had to. So just to be clear, so no one's under any misgivings, a baron's not going to assign you turf in no man's land. You have no barony. You have no higher authority to appeal to. There's also no sixth tradition stopping somebody from ashing one another.
Right.
You know, the only thing, it's the social implications that are more concerning at that point.
Okay.
So I'm just writing down a small note here. Mouse information broker, small beef with adder. Okay. So that gets us our second portalone, but that portalone might be compromised by Mangle. Nosferatu. So anything else that somebody wants to add? You have a coterie house that you can go in, or are you guys just stomping on the streets for the most part? Are you...
I think we need a place.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll put my point into Haven.
Okay. So we have a 1-dot Haven. It's cramped, but it's definitely something you can end up working with. So here's the question. What did it cost you?
No one wants to go near it because it's hot, fucking home.
Either that or it's obviously creepy.
You can do Haunted.
Yeah.
Haunted's always fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
That definitely wasn't a problem in another chronicle I was a part of.
Oh yeah, certainly not. I can't imagine how that possibly would be the case.
I don't know.
All right.
I will go ahead and toss mine into Haven as well and size a little bit.
Okay. So you got some rooms to work with. Not the most secure location, but it's a decent. Yeah, it at least gives you some breathing room. You're not all cramped into the same tiny kitchen / dining room that, you know, effectively makes up a cubicle.
Couple shelves in a closet.
Yeah.
It's like
All right.
bunk beds.
All right. So what is the flaw here? What happened? You can bolster up the neonate Nos as a more prominent adversary. You could add a new problem in that showcase.
I'm torn between bumping up the adversary and adding creepy to the Haven.
Either one works.
Yep. What do you guys think?
For what in exchange?
I'm bumping up our Haven size,
Oh, okay.
but for the flaw, I am torn between bumping up the adversary or adding creepy to the Haven.
A 2-dot adversary means that they are a very powerful individual.
Yeah.
Or could be.
Yeah.
And us ousting them might get us all whacked.
Alright, in that case, I will say add creepy.
Okay.
Inviting mortals over does not end well.
Nah, bro, it's fine.
No, it doesn't.
It's creepy.
Because it's creepy
haunted,
and it's haunted.
But it's home.
Look,
Which means a poltergeist might throw shit at us in the
Yeah.
middle of the night.
Fall asleep in the kitchen, wake up with like 6 kitchen knives in your stomach, and like, Huh.
These weren't there before.
Something tells me
Did you
something's
have fun?
upset. Well, Coffee, I think you're the last person that could do another dot.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, coffee. So, coffee, are you good with where it is, or do you want to add to the complications?
Hmm. I don't like that lane is so low because that's how Adder makes his bread and butter. But
I have an idea for a flaw for that. If you want to take it, that fits.
okay, I'm open to ideas.
What if there was a leak coming from our area that's leaking information that we don't know about yet, but we'd have to find out about?
What flaw would you associate that with?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I wasn't looking at a list of flaws. I was just thinking of like something that would be a fun plot point.
Oh, there's plenty of fun plot points that I can end up adding. It's all good in the hood there. We're in danger. You're absolutely right. And they adversary knows and trade information. Coffee rank heard about them. The Baron. Ooh, that could be good. Yeah, not everything can be black and white in World of Darkness. That's kind of the hilarious portion of it.
mm-hmm.
But you want to end up taking Lane. If you want, you can always trust me with the flaw.
Or another thing, there could be a human element, like a gang in our area,
like an enemy. Yeah,
like that we have to work around.
Yeah.
an enemy gang in the area. Okay.
And just because I think I got an impression of where to end up putting you.
Yeah, then it would be an enemy gang that would kind of be getting in our way for a lot of things.
Okay. We'll boost up Lane and okay. And that finalizes the little dots there. So let me load up. I had a map earlier on. So let me just go and find. Winnipeg notes. Pretty sure I had a map. Yes, I did. So. I think we're gonna push you out along Kuwaitan Street, and I'll showcase that in a second. Let me double check here. It's a little ways. Just trying to... Yeah. Actually... Small housing residence... Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think we have some places to end up going to there, but I think better. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that is perfect. Okay. So we're gonna put you up in Mountain Avenue. And so the things you need to understand about Mountain Avenue more than anything is what you're dealing with is a lot of like older, smaller residential properties, kind of broken streets, crumbling streets. This place doesn't receive a whole lot of love. If you have businesses there, they're in old buildings with rusted out signs. The place feels like it's perpetually in need of construction, and you see construction, but you don't ever see the results of it. At best, it's all patch jobs. What you end up getting is like the big important thing is the 7-Eleven around the corner. There's an occasional multi-story building, but it's the anomaly more than anything. It feels very much like the place time forgot. Not a whole lot of a nightlife. You're not going to end up finding in big clubs there. It is not the go-to place. It sometimes gets a little rough, and it's near Kuwaitan, which is the location that you'd be referred to. You're going to end up finding that feeding here is tough. But the plus side of it is that it's on the northern end of the city and just a little bit outside. You'd have to literally go between Styx and Louis' domain before you can get to anything else. It puts you as far away from the conflict going on in the south as you can, which in the southern region, that's very much owned by Silverstein and the Scales Coterie. The one you're probably most likely to deal with is Baron Louis and Revolver, and probably end up dealing with a little bit of... You're probably going to be dealing with Styx on occasion. Styx is out to the east, directly south, or pardon, Styx is out to the west. Southeast is where you're going to be dealing with Baron Louis. Puts you a little bit out of the way, but thankfully it doesn't put you sandwiched in between domains, which can be a point of contention. Could also be a little bit of breathing room. I think it's probably the most or the smartest place to end up putting it in, given the dots I'm seeing here. So the advantage here is that because it doesn't have much of a nightlife, it's not like alley cats end up having any reason to end up coming out here. It also makes it a little bit easier to defend because, well, there's long stretches of nothing. Makes it easier to end up spying things. Lane, you only have so many places you need to know and have places to end up making your presence felt. But Crimson Nightshade has that location now, and if there is something that's going on with it, certainly something to end up building on. We're going to end up going to the washroom, take a quick break, everybody, and we will end up finalizing the pieces of our coterie. So, everybody, we'll be right back. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. To continue on with session 0. So, let us start off with, well, kind of trying to end up figuring out what it is that the players might need from me, or any questions they may have. This is me mostly trying to end up figuring out where to end up putting my attention. Simple fact of the matter is Winnipeg, I currently have broad brush, but one of the mistakes I ended up making in my original Detroit was I went into all of the little details of every single character, and by the end I had like a NPC cast of like 60, and we maybe used a quarter of them for anything relevant to the plot by the end. So I'd like to be able to zoom in and try and end up figuring out a few different pieces. There's a few characters in that are closer to the domain, or closer to the domain that the coterie currently has, and we're going to end up figuring that out. The coterie Crimson Nightshade is currently here looking to end up putting in their roots. A half-decent domain by all accounts, given other portions of Winnipeg are very, very sparsely populated. While you might have a few houses you can potentially break into, running into somebody on the street in the dead of night is a rarity. So, with that being said, we have a little bit of work to end up putting into. So, let's open up the floor for questions.
I had one and it just slipped my mind.
That's twice now.
That seems to be the case tonight. Yes, that's twice now. It's getting bad.
We're waiting. Yeah, you start thinking Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
I'm an old timer, all right.
All right. So, I'm surprised. I was expecting the question and answer period, and it's like, no, we're good. Start to end up getting that nervous tick. Are they just disinterested?
Or
No, not at
No,
all.
I'm working on fleshing out to try to figure out.
Well, that's what the question and answer period's for. What's up, Volvo?
Yeah.
were there, when Prince Dufresne left, were there any like prime Camarilla areas that were destroyed?
Destroyed? No. Taken? Yes. Primarily by Matthias and Silverstein.
Okay.
Silverstein themselves has probably one of the most how to put this. Baron Silverstein, her domain is probably the best suited for anybody who may be left behind by the whole of the Camarilla court. Not to say every Camarilla agent stuck around. Many couldn't make the trip, and the coffers of the Camarilla of Winnipeg were used to end up transplanting a large chunk of the heavy hitters of the Camarilla. But a handful of them may have ended up defecting. Some legitimately here finally being free of the Camarilla's reign. Others just knew which way the wind was blowing. Silverstein has been sorting out that mess in the south over in St. Vitel. The Velvet Gloves is Baron Matthias, who ended up taking downtown. It would have been cutting a little bit into past the officially recognized Camarilla turf, but for the most part, they end up having a handle on it. The other bit of Camarilla turf was out in the west, so actually past the west end, to end up taking the airport, and that specifically is put them in a decent amount of favor. So the old location and a little bit out to the east, where it was kind of the original no man's land, so to speak, by Prince Dufresne's decree, was occupied by Baron Louis Riel, and he still holds that to this day.
Okay. I only ask because it kind of ties back into a bit of what Omen's interested in, because
Which is what exactly? Is he's trying to end up finding his broodmate to understand who ended up killing their sire, and he suspects made it. Or now you got me saying it. Medit.
um. So, of one of the major things he's been doing is he's been going back through his kind of sour shit, because in his backgrounds he does have a very small haven, which used to be his sire's. So he's kind of going back through what his sire had in there and is trying to figure out what he was previously working on. And since he was kind of Camarilla before, kind of getting back to that location might be difficult depending on where that's located.
Okay, let me continue to put down.
So, like, if someone was like very like aware, they know that Omen seldomly goes into like Matthias's domain for some weird reason. They don't know where the fuck he goes, but he's been seen there for some reason.
Okay. Okay, here's a question. How did your sire die? Spectacular disaster. Go ahead.
I'm thinking it was kind of a bit of a disaster, but more of a straight up murder. Like, his body was found and he was decomposing. He was turning to dust. So probably more from a like
beheading, gunshot blasted, set on fire with a Molotov. What do you think?
It would be a beheading, and it would have been with what?
Oh, we got a little one wanting to be on stream tonight.
It would have been a beheading, and it would have been with his sire's own weapon, actually. Kind of playing back into like the older Bruja ways.
Okay.
Where being a scholar and a fighter, so he's just his sire just had a weapon that kind of he got from his sire and so on and so forth. So he was like, why is this leg here? And why is he fucking beheaded? What the fuck happened? Everything is on fire. Why?
This is fine.
So, it's fine. It's not fine. It's not fine at all. So, Omen would be in possession of his sire's previous weapon as well. Which plays into him being a melee specialist, actually.
Okay. So, anybody else have something to add?
I do have it currently that Ruby does have a small nightclub of her own.
Ruby
I
has
just
a
I just gotta switch a
nightclub.
couple dots around in regards to that, but
Okay, so you're actually going with okay. Let's see here. So Ruby has a nightclub.
yeah.
Now, like I described the domain, like it's not going to have a
Yeah.
whole lot. So even if you have one, it's not going to be a prominent thing, right?
Oh yeah, no,
Relatively
I
small.
didn't figure it'd be a prominent thing.
Yeah.
It's more to kind of create her and then get her some resources in.
That's fair. That's fair. We'll get the any details I need to know about this club.
More toward the goth persuasion because, like I said earlier, she is goth herself.
Mhm.
But other than that,
Adder
no.
A
probably
failing
goes there
scene
now.
of a bygone age.
Yep.
Adder probably goes there too, and Adder's a little bit more of a.
That's probably how those two ended up meeting.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we probably met that way. I made just now a couple of two touchstones for Adder.
Okay.
The first of which is probably the more important one, is a woman named Deanna Church. I accidentally killed her husband during a feeding, and I'm trying to make up for it.
Okay.
The conviction is thou shalt not kill.
All right. Well, let me just get Deanna up there. And she has a positive relationship with you because she's none the wiser on the fact that you.
She has no idea it was me. Because I'm a Sandman. I feed on those who sleep. And either she was out or sleeping when I accidentally overfed. And thus she woke up or came home to a dead husband, and I was conveniently, or not conveniently, there to help make up for things by helping her out, financially, emotionally, things like that.
Widow chaser. Got it.
Well, they're good to the last drop, and then you can, take out the leftovers.
Well, we'll see on how that holds up. Okay.
Because that could be a plot point all by itself.
That can be a plot point.
Another one you could possibly use would be the husband of my now dead sister.
Okay.
Since I'm older, I am. I look 27, but I probably at least 10 years older than that when it comes to my truer age. So I haven't aged.
All right. So, all right. What was the character's name?
Sebastian Montgomery.
Okay. And let's get this going.
We only ever talk on the phone, though. I make it a point never to actually see him in person.
Okay. I imagine that leads all kinds of complications, but
yeah, because
I'm fun stuff.
I'm supposed to be 50 years old, and I don't look 50.
So he's the husband to your dead sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
her death can be an important plot point. It may not be. I'm not expecting it to be. It's more along the lines of just trying to hold on to my sister's memories.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that puts that there. So.
And Sebastian is Sebastian.
All right.
SCB.
Let me type that up from start then, because
yeah.
All right. So what was the spelling you used?
Just like that.
Okay.
Sebastian. Yep.
Okay. Well, it depends. There's a whole bunch of things that can end up going Spectre. The big thing here is that I'm just looking for a whole bunch of plot points to kind of kick off, and then if we can bring it in, great. If not, sucks, but it's not the end of the world. But it at least gives us options on the table, and that's primarily what we're looking for right now: is questions and options.
Yep.
Okay. So
Ruby does have a second touchstone too.
Okay.
Jenna Crane works at her club.
All right, give me 1 second.
Yep.
Jenna?
Yep. Jenna.
Okay. And let's go here. What the heck? Alright, I'm gonna have to refresh because I think that we're bounding down. Okay, let's try that again.
I have a question. Well, what's the music scene like in Winnipeg?
You'll end up finding that it depends on the location. North End, what have you, is a lot of rap. A little bit more central, you're dealing with country metal. If you're dealing with the south side, you're probably thinking more EDM and all that kind of stuff. Winnipeg is historically, when it comes down to music and film, is basically where you record when you're trying to save on a budget. So that's how it tries to end up dragging in business. Let's see here. Now, just to be clear, Jenna is employee.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else we're adding?
I have my touchstones. I figured out. When you're ready.
Okay. We got touchstone. So. All right. What's the name of the first?
Marv.
Okay. And what's the name of the second one?
Anne.
Okay. And give me 1 second to do this real quick.
Marv and Anne.
Okay, what's your relationship with them? Simplified.
Anne was
I can't write a paragraph.
um basic friend.
Both friends?
Yeah.
Okay. Do they know each other?
It's possible they're both business owners in the same area, so
Okay.
Ann owns a local coffee shop and Marv is he runs a liquor store.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay, so Marv runs an LC. Okay. Anything on Anything on Owen?
The way I met Anne is some people were trying to strong arm her, and she was standing up for herself, so that triggered off one of my tenets or
Okay.
my convictions. Marv, he's a kind of a heavily scarred man. He was him and his family were a victim of gang violence, and he is the only survivor.
Okay. So that leaves Omen. Omen, touchstone or two?
He has 3.
He has 3.
Oh.
Oh, this is gonna get busy. Okay.
I think I'm gonna cut it down to 2 though. So one of them is named Faye. Her name is Faye.
Fang?
It kind of goes back to Faye.
Faye. Okay.
It kind of ties back into what's the music scene like in Winnipeg?
Okay.
Because Faye is Omen's friend for a few years now. She is very in tune to the music scene of Winnipeg because she goes by the artist name Killer Queen.
No.
Okay.
Let's see here.
And she is very much tied to his conviction of stand up for the disenfranchised.
All right.
And also, he's sometimes one of the way Omen ended up meeting Faye is he was kind of just looking for a place to chill because he's heavily into music as well.
Okay.
He's more so into drumming, so they kind of just vibed, kind of just hanging out at certain places. Then just started kind of building a friendship that way.
All right. Let's see here. A lot of information to unpack.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'm just like trying. Roll20 does not make the easiest way to do a relationship web, and I'm trying to put it down as quick as I'm getting it, which, with all the back and forth, is difficult. All right. So who's the second one? Oh.
Sorry about that. Had to deal with a random child. Well, not random, but evil child. So the second touchstone, his name is Nika.
Is it
That's
Nika?
Nika.
Okay.
He is close to a. He's a pretty close friend. Just because they kind of hit it off due to their love of martial arts and kind of just geeking out over weapons.
Mhm.
He also, in his off time, trains with Nico, and that's where his second conviction comes in. I don't know how to phrase this conviction actually.
Well, we better figure that out if
Well-
this is literally your immortal soul on the line.
Kill only in self defense.
Hmm.
Murder should be the last resort.
Okay.
So more so, kill as last resort, immobilize before anything else.
All right.
Like the Marcus Precious.
So let's go over, and that will be the last thing we need to end up doing, is we need to talk about chronicle tenants. Now that we got kind of the world fleshed out, we got the game pieces set. We need to figure out what the rules are we're playing on. We're looking for 3 chronicle tenants. And I'd like to end up hearing what you guys think.
That is a good question. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that. Barrel.
Well, the primary one, obviously, thou shalt not kill.
Well, you already got that covered in yours. That implies that's not a chronicle
Yeah,
tenant.
sure.
That's a personal conviction, which is interesting.
Oh shit.
What page is
Oh,
the
God.
Chronicle tenants on?
They start at 172.
172.
Oh god, that's gonna be so different. I might need to change that tenant.
What is the rules we're playing by? So, given it's an anarch game,
I think the guilty must be punished.
that's more of an Avengers situation, though.
True.
And that, like, if I was expecting that out of anybody, I would be expecting that out of Omen, because as a personal conviction. Otherwise, like, the entire thing is, okay, well, we are out to end up punishing the guilty, which, that's fine if you're trying to purge what's left of the Camarilla or any potential Camarilla sympathizers in the city, then that works. But I would suggest
I have
an
a
anarch?
suggestion as well.
none may
We
control
could.
me.
I like that.
I
Yeah.
was about to say
That is a quintessential anarch tenant.
Mhm.
I also like to respect others, demand respect.
I'm also a fan of rob from the rich, give to the poor. If we're thinking of the Camarilla as the rich and the anarchs as the poor in this case.
Problem is that the spoils have already been divvied up. I mean, if you had anybody, if you ran into anybody who was still blood and blood cam, you'd probably be running into them as damn near destitute, trying to end up hiding from the rest of you, waiting for their time to come back. That would be the more likely scenario, right? So, or they might be pulling a Yuri and Doyle, hiding amongst the crew. But,
Hiding amongst them, yeah.
right.
Mhm.
I mean, in which case, stealing from the rich, you'd probably be going after Matthias at that point. You'd probably also be going after Styx.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't think that what's his face Adder would find all that much that all that useful. um, protect the innocent from harm could be a good one.
And the reason I bring up those criticisms is because I want you to really understand like what kind of world you're in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand protect the innocent from harm, but if we used you rob from rich, and we're never actually at the point where we're trying to end up doing so, then ultimately it's a dead chronicle tenant before it even starts, right?
Yeah. But I'm
No,
just spitballing.
that is perfectly fine.
I'm not committed
because
to anything.
you're bringing it up as a point of discussion, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Uphold the norms of decent society.
That is an interesting one. That is an interesting one in our chronicle. It could be rough, but if that is a common understanding amongst this coterie, because I can guarantee you that wasn't the case in Coffee Cat's previous chronicle, where meet and greets could end up being done in the form of a 9mm and an esophagus meeting.
Oh, the taste of Glock.
You got a little bit of powder right there.
All you hear is a muffled "fuck you."
Never break a deal. Never involve an outsider, or never break a deal are two really good ones suggested by Specs.
I mean, that definitely is a code that Adder would live by. He
Yeah.
does not renege on his deals.
Yeah, those are really good personal codes.
I like never break a deal and the give respect and demand respect. But those are my personal. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, give respect, demand respect, and what was the other one?
Never renege on a deal. Forget how Spec said it.
That's okay. Never break a deal. Okay, so that's 4 that I have down. Any others that we can throw into the list before we start chopping them down?
No, because the 2 I was going to say were said, so.
Okay, so I have 4 here. None may control me, protect the innocent from harm, give respect, demand respect, and never break a deal. So which ones are we feeling? Which one are we not so hot on? And remember that it's not a matter of these being the direction you follow. This is the thing that is going to be dictating where the tension comes in when you are crossing a line.
I like none may control me because the flaw that I took is bond slave.
So it doubly goes for you.
Yeah,
somebody bonds you and they start pushing it, you start dropping humanity like a stone for every single time they order you to do something.
Yeah, they order me to do something and I and I have to take and I have to do it.
Okay.
But I also have,
I like none may control me as well.
Yeah, I like that one too.
All right, so we're going to keep none may control me. That is our first chronicle tenant. That is locked in. So now we got the 3. Protect the innocent from harm, give respect, demand respect, and never break a deal.
I kind of already have never break a deal as one of my personal tenets because I have always keep your sworn word. So that's already something that kind of applies to me.
Okay. So protect the innocent and give respect, demand respect. What sounds like the 3 chronicle tenants.
Yep.
I will post them in the Discord just so you guys are all playing off the same list. I also have it saved on the domain sheet just in case. All right.
Wait, what was the third one?
I
It was none may
posted them-
control me, give respect.
Give respect, man, respect.
and protect the innocent from harm.
Protect the innocent. Okay.
Which also I love the keep the innocent from harm. Also ends up meaning that touchstones are probably going to come into this a little bit more frequently than most. That gives us
Ah.
2.
I do like that. Hmm.
Okay. I think I have all the notes I need. So what about you guys? Is there anything you need from me?
Just okaying some of the stuff I did in backgrounds.
Okay, well, I can look over it real quick.
Also, another question.
Okay, one thing I'm going to need you to do is you're going to need to end up, especially if you're pulling from outside of the core rulebook, write down the actual what book, what page. I saw you did that with the Rudy's lore sheet, but
Gotcha.
for instance, check the trunk and tempered will. Not ringing bells.
I'll do that.
I don't know.
They're from
why.
the player guide. They're from the player
Yeah, so this is where
I knew what they meant. I just
yeah, because one of the big
Got
things that it was easier when it was like 3 books and I memorized most of them. Now they have so many supplements that trying to remember where every one of them comes in and where I'm referencing them from is getting a little bit tricky. So
Right. I did that too because I also took a lore sheet, Church of Set, the first dot in that.
Mm-hmm.
I took for Ruby the alternate clan bane.
Okay, I am just taking a look over it. Okay, so you took the alternate clan bane.
Ooh, what is the alt clan bane for Malkavians?
Unnatural manifestations. Whenever a Malkavian uses a discipline power, mortals in close proximity, roughly the same room, are spooked, and any social interaction with them from intimidation suffers a dice penalty equal to the bane severity.
Oh.
Basically, it's the equivalent of unnerving presence.
You use a discipline and people around you get spooked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm taking the standard ministry clan bane, so.
Okay. Resources to.
Oh, I do have a question on that.
Okay.
Originally, I was going to give her a haven. I'm going to change it around to up until the coterie. She had been staying in the basement of her club. Would that have been considered like a 1-dot haven or no haven at all?
I would say it'd probably be a 1-dot haven. It's difficult to defend when you're basically living in a public domain's basement. Let's see here.
I also took a 1-dot haven for my personal use.
Yep.
It's very tiny. Basically just enough to sleep in.
Yep.
That gives me 3 points to move elsewhere, then, I do believe. Okay.
So. Okay. We have that. I think that covers everything, and looks okay. Yeah, if you're pulling from anything outside of the core rulebook, please do reference what book it is, just so this way, if I'm going over it and I'm just like flipping through looking for stuff, it's like, okay, what is this and where can I find it? Just makes my job a lot easier.
Yes, that is going to be an important factor for Adder, is that he does have to attend his church on a basically weekly basis, so that he can maintain that lore sheet. But yeah, I imagine that that's some place that him and his sire meet up
Yep.
regularly.
So it might even be him heading the congregation. It's where he gets his namesake, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Adder attends on a regular basis and gets the benefit of being able to feed there.
It helps. Let's see here. So if that's the case, I think that concludes everything we're going to need, at least for the time being. What do you think where do you think you guys are going to meet up most frequent? I know Ruby's got a club, but I don't think that club is going to be in the domain. You have a fairly tiny chunk to play with. And, there's your havens will probably be nearby, but that's also like slim picking situation. You got the haunted,
maybe a local bar.
You got the haunted
house,
place, which that's going to be interesting. So local bars, not many out there, but there are a few. So
any parks out in that area?
Not many. So, like, if we end up taking a look out there, just off, it would be probably Shaughnessy. Shaughnessy Park. It's a soccer park. And there's a handful of them out there, but not many and not particularly large. So.
For our own personal meeting purposes, I imagine we would meet at the haunted house, because I doubt that we're going to be inviting a whole lot of people there, given it's creepy and it's haunted.
Yeah, probably.
For our own personal uses, personal meetings between all of us. Mm-hmm. But as far as a public place for other people to meet with us, yeah, we'll probably meet them out in the open somewhere.
Okay. All right. Well, if that is everything, I got some work I gotta get done pretty soon. Oh, hey, Hero Zone. Welcome. Yeah, we got Maddie already, and unless there's something you guys need to add, I don't think there's anything we can end up adding to it. So.
Nope.
Okay. So if that's the case, let us go. What the fresh hell is this? Well, we're about to end up... This is the new hell. No, this is an old hell. This is an old hell we are coming back to.
Frozen hell.
But I'm going to end up getting some stuff done. I got quite a bit I got to work in the back the end of this whole thing. Organize a few things, tool it up a bit more. But overall, I am very happy with what we're about to end up presenting. And, well, since no one else has any other questions, I'm going to end up calling it there, because I have to end up being up very bright and early tomorrow. Oh, dear God. So, we're going to wish you all the best. And we're going to try to end up getting prompt and early with session 1 of Winnipeg by Night. Say good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See, even the baby said we're ending.